Welcome to episode 2 of the podcast. Today we have some conservative speakers on board, and we're going to be talking about a specific issue: the criminal industrial system, criminal justice system, the prison industrial complex, where we think it should go or where it should stay. And this is supposed to be like fun, not debate, more of a educational conversation. All right. So today we have once again Quinten and Pranav, and our two new speakers can go introduce themselves.
Hey, I'm Jackson, and yeah.
I'm Harrison.
Nice.
Nice.
All right, so we can start talking about it. So, as you know, me, Quinten, and Pranav are more to the left, where Harrison and Jackson are to the right, and we have differing ideologies, differing theories as to how policing should happen in the United States or just in general. So why don't you guys start, Harrison and Jackson?
Like, what is the purpose of prisons, stuff like that?
Well, no. Why don't y'all say like what you believe?
Okay. So
yeah, and then we all believe similar but different things.
Okay, so I guess I'll go first. I think the prison industrial complex and criminal justice system are part of a broader, monster of the United States federal government that aims to do a couple of things. One, protect the property of the top 1 to 10%, usually white males, but basically protect the property of the top 1 to 10%. Second, continue subjugation of the lower classes, specifically usually Black and Hispanic communities. And I think that the way that we handle policing and punishment right now is really flawed. I think just in general, not regardless of whether we're in the U.S. or not, policing and punishment or punishment for crime, it shouldn't be punishment, but rather it should be revolved around getting everyone what they need materially, which means enacting things like social services, good like Medicare for all, like good actual psychiatric centers for people with mental disorders like psychopathy or pedophilia would be a necessary first step to preempt and prevent things like mass murders, serial killers, or pedophiles. Second is once you've established these centers, policing should not be based on, it shouldn't be based on trying to protect property, or it shouldn't be based on preempting a threat, because police officers, obviously, it's not an easy job. I'm not saying it's an insanely hard job, because if the actual list it's like 18th or 19th hardest job, or most dangerous job. But police officers, they deal with a lot more than they should be dealing with. They go to training for 6 months, which probably is insufficient, and they learn when they're in the camps. It's like a paramilitary boot camp. They learn I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6, which says I'd rather shoot someone and kill them and be judged by them rather than being carried onto a battle, rather than being carried into like a graveyard. So they think of things preemptively, and in these camps they're taught that everything is a threat and they have to respond to them preemptively, which means they end up shooting people, or not necessarily shooting, killing people like George Floyd. So once we enact the social services that helps people that have mental issues that then become these risky individuals, as pointed out by the system, I think their policing could be better. And my last point, we should not have punishment where people are locked behind bars for the rest of their life, because that is traumatizing. Imagine being behind a bar for a day and then for the rest of your life. That's insane. The most successful prisons in the world are usually in European areas where people are not locked behind bars, but rather they're in enclosed areas where they have access to education, things like that. I think that's where the prison industrial complex and criminal justice system should go.
But you have to get punished for bad things that you do. It's just simple.
Okay, here, wait, we'll have time for debate. Here, I'll go really quick. I'll go quicker than Aneesh. Okay, basically, I think I'm Quinten, by the way. I think that the point of the prison industrial complex should be really more geared at reform, especially for things like drug abuse, like we are focused way too much on like the form of punishment. Like most people who do drugs, like the fact that you go to jail instead of like because in jail you still do drugs. You like there's just there that going to jail for drugs does not end the cycle of drug abuse. Also, and a lot of times in the cases of like murder or yeah, mostly murder, like a large percentage of the time, I don't have data on this, but a large percentage of the time, the murderer has some like pre like non-discovered like
Like mental disorder.
mental condition. Yeah. Also, I think that we don't need like we don't need like complete disarmament of the police, but we do need like a form of demilitarization, like abolishment of the 1033 program, which puts tanks in the hands of police. We saw examples of that, like in Ferguson, stuff like that. You know. Yeah, that's my take. Pranav, do you want to go?
Yeah, I feel like we should work on more on rehab. Like I don't know, like say like work on like building the character more off like they say it's like train them to be good because like some of them have the pre-existing connections or like family issues, like their dad leaving them or mom or like getting beat. It's just traumatizing things that may lead to them. Like I'm pretty sure the Parkland shooter he got bullied. I'm pretty sure, so he got something that happened in school. So I feel like we should work on that instead of just punishing them by putting them behind bars in the death penalty, which is I think is outrageous. And um, yeah, that's my take on it really.
Okay, Jackson, Harrison, y'all can go.
Okay, so they definitely shouldn't completely take away punishment. I agree that there should be more rehab or at least some sort of rehab, but you can't just take away the punishment. That wouldn't work, in my opinion.
But the thing is, actually, Harrison, you can go.
I agree with what Jackson said. I think there does need to be some sort of rehab, but there does need to be punishment because if there isn't any of that, they're never going to learn, not to do it. But some people definitely do need, rehab. The thing about, police, I don't think we need to demilitarize them or whatever you want to say. We still need to have police, but there definitely does need to be reform.
Okay,
I mean,
so I have two things. One, the United States prison system is predicated solely on punishment, very little rehabilitation. And it also, obviously, part of this stat that I'm about to give has to do with the fact that it's run by corporate prisons, but the CCA. Actually, they changed their name, I think. But we have a 43% reincarceration rate. 43% of people that go to prison end up going back to prison. And it's a cycle. Keeps happening. Punishment. Punishment doesn't teach. The statistics show that it doesn't teach. Because in theory, people don't learn from punishment. They learn from... So I have a question for you guys. Why do you think people commit crime?
Depends.
Like what? Like specific? Like in general?
just,
Yeah.
like give a
Um,
couple of reasons because there's more than one, obviously.
So I guess my question would be, an easier version is, do you think all people are born equal?
Yo.
Like, do you think everyone is born the same?
No.
So what do you mean by that? You think like some people
I
are
mean,
born
like as people.
Well, I don't know
Yeah,
your
I mean,
question. We're
everyone.
not talking about. Aren't we talking about? Okay. Yeah, I don't exactly get what you're asking.
No, so
Yeah, like what do you
like-
like the same? Like as people?
Because-
Yeah, everyone's like a person.
my argument would be everyone is born the same. Everyone is born as a human, and they're all born
Okay,
like
yeah.
equal. So people don't commit crimes because they're born bad. They commit crimes because of the environment they're put in. And most of the time, that is because one, they don't have access to housing or food or medical care. So they commit crimes. They murder people or things like that. So why do you think people commit crimes?
Well, there's definitely a different like number of reasons for sure. Some people could be in like a tough spot, but murder, I definitely don't think like you need punishment for that for sure. I don't think you need rehab for that. You definitely deserve to be punished after taking another human's life.
Yeah.
The thing is,
Some
I think
people like to do bad things.
And a
You
lot of
You think some people are born doing bad things?
Not born, but they become that way.
Why do they become that way?
I don't know exactly.
Because of the environment around them, right?
Not always because the environment around them, but
Okay, so I'll give you a statistic. 13% of the country's population is black. About 39% of the prison population is black. If it's not based on environment, so do you think like black people are just born more susceptible to becoming criminals?
no.
So it would be based on the environment, right? Because like generally black people,
I guess in a lot of
because of
cases,
the
yeah.
system, they've been placed in mass incarceration in the 80s due to the drug war, which was kind of stupid to fight a war on drugs. Kind of dumb if you think about it. But like over militarization in these communities. So I guess what I'm saying is, if everyone is born equal, if people commit crime based on their conditions that they're placed in, where they don't have access to things, wouldn't they be like, wouldn't it? Okay. Wouldn't it be easier to stop crime if we help everyone get what they need?
Yes, but
Yeah.
with just rehab, think about this. A lot of people would take advantage of that. You talk about people going back to prison again, but a lot of people would just keep committing crimes and then kind of finesse the system with rehab, and so that they get out faster and then do the same thing and then come back and do it again. In my opinion.
Can I ask something about the environment, like the environment around them? Can I add something on that point? So like as kids, where do we learn most of our habits from? Like the people around us, right? Because that's where I learned most of my habits from my sister, my parents, right? So
Yeah.
if they're like, or if they're around bad people and people like that in bad communities, they will learn bad behaviors like drugs and all of that. So yeah, really, it is. I believe it does depend on the environment around them, and the way we fix that is first rehab and other things besides punishment. Because people, if they get punished too much, they'll just do it. And they get out. I don't think they really care anymore because punishment, sometimes punishment goes like too far. Like it's just I don't know. I don't think punishment should be available, but the community, I think the community does around them affects how a person is growing up, and therefore affects them in later in life. Yeah.
I just don't think it's possible to have just rehab. There still has to be some sort of punishment. You know.
Jackson, I have a question for you. Okay, are you
Yeah,
familiar with like Finland or Sweden's like prison system?
not really.
So basically, they have a prison system almost solely built around rehabilitation. Um, like you go to their prisons, they teach trades. Like so, when you get out of prison, you actually have a life. Because like Aneesh said, 43% of people who like go to prison go back to prison, which obviously proves that form of punishment doesn't work. Because what we have right now is a form of punishment. So you say people are going to take advantage and go back to prison. People are still going back anyway. So you say that people are going to take advantage of the rehab, right? Like that's what you're.
Yes.
Okay, so in Finland, or Finland or Sweden, do you see this happening? Like there are like that their prisons are almost solely built on rehabilitation, and they don't see a lot of re-incarceration or recarceration.
I just think that's what would happen here. I don't know how similar it is to Sweden or whatever, but
Why would that happen here and not in Sweden? Because if everyone like, is it like an environmental thing or?
I don't know. That's just what I think would happen. Because a lot of people are like that.
Finland's reincarceration rate is around 30%, which is one of the lowest in the world.
Yeah. Ours is much higher.
And I think it's not only just the criminal industrial system. I keep saying criminal industrial, the criminal justice system, or the prison industrial complex, but a larger the reason it happens more in the United States is because much of the prisons in the United States are controlled by corporations like the CCA. I forgot what it's called now. They changed their name. Kanye actually mentioned them in the song "New Slaves." Core Civic now. They own 61 facilities in the United States, 34 state prisons, 14 federal prisons, 9 immigration detention centers, and 4 jails. And you know what these corporations actually do in this capitalist system is they bribe the judges, like this on individual levels. This is actually true. They bribe the judges to increase like incarceration sentences or have higher sentences for black teens, or just people in general. So they make more money when people come to the prison because the government pays them. And, it's part of a broader system that we need to address at once. That's why when we're having this conversation, I think we also need to talk about how, like, if we have programs like Medicare for All or housing for people, people will have like less needs that they like need to get, and a lot of times crime is driven by people not having access to these everyday needs.
Yeah. Jackson.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So you guys have anything to say? Yeah.
I mean, the Medicare for all and housing for all would be so expensive, obviously. So,
Okay.
I
Well,
mean, trying that
I
as much as
guess
possible is good, but